The year's 1874, and four men, who, John Hughes, William Price, George Matthews and William Scattergood, stood under a gas lamp. What were they talking about? Forming a sports team for the colder seasons. They didn't become fatties when cricket season came round. They were considering rugby but decided against it because they didn't want to get hurt. Let's just make a football team, one of them said. Okay. A year following, a club near us, then known as Small Heath Alliance, came to be. You'll come to find that we don't get on very well in the future. On another note, football is now professionalised. Now it's professional, I'm sure we'll act that way and follow the rules. 1879 came round and so did Aston Villa in the FA Cup, beating Stafford Road in the first round. Things were looking good. That was until we came up against Oxford University, got really scared and ran off. Despite a university team seeing too daunting a task, we beat a bunch of college students in the Birmingham Senior Cup final to win our first ever trophy. 8 years on from our incompetency in the FA Cup, we stopped beating up children and running away from uni students to beat West Brom 2-0 in the final, to actually win the thing, our first ever significant trophy. One of our committee members, William McGregor, got fed up with the biggest friendly games not getting attendances as big as the cup games. Solution? Make the Football League. How did we get on, you may ask? We came second, behind a team who didn't lose at all f***ing season. Remember when I said we wouldn't break any rules? Slight problem, we did. Couple of seasons after beating them in the FA Cup, West Brom had a strop and claimed we illegally poached Willie Groves from them. Eventually the stropping paid off and the FA made Villa pay them £100 with a £25 fine, becoming the first ever £100 transfer. Good news, the following season he helped us win the league, something we'd do 5 more times by 1900. Along with that we won the FA Cup 3 times to make us the most successful club in the country. We even did the league and cup double, becoming the second team to complete the feat. In the midst of all the trophies they moved to a little known stadium called Villa Park. The next 2 decades we continued being quite good, winning the FA Cup in 1905, 1913 and 1920 along with a 6th league title in 1910. I wonder why we won nothing between 1914 and 1918. I'm sure we'll recover well from the war and won't go on a 37-year trophy drought. Right? In 1919, just after the war, we signed Billy Walker. He scores a lot of goals. How many? 244. No one has done it more than him for us. 11 years on from his signing, we scored a record 128 goals in a league season, with Tom Pongo Waring scoring 49 of them. This means we surely break our title drought. Never mind. Bad news, Billy Walker retired, we appointed our first ever team manager and completely shit the bed, facing our first ever relegation. Good news, 2 years later we took Fulham's manager and started winning again. I'm sure that another catastrophe won't occur and disrupt our season. Due to the war, a new hip and cool competition came to be, the Football League World Cup. Strap in because this is going to take some explaining.
Teams up north play other teams up north until a Northern Cup winner comes to be, and the southern teams do the same. Both winners then meet in a 2-legged final.
This instance was Villa vs Charlton. Who won? Neither. London was getting blown up. It got shared. War's over. Are Villa winning? No. Will they start winning? Yeah, in 12 years' time. Beat Manchester United 2-0 in the FA Cup. Will we keep winning? Yeah, actually we did. 3 years later, the FA decided that one cup competition wasn't enough, so they made another. Rotherham were the losing side despite beating us. Why? Because we beat them harder 2 weeks later. Not long after winning the League Cup, we signed Charlie Atkin. He'd go on to play for us for a very long time and have lots of fun. Bad news, he stopped having fun, we've been shit again and gone down. Let's just try and get promoted again. Historically bad news, we've been shit in the shit division and gone down to an even shitter division. This would be the worst it would get, coming up at the second time of asking. In the 3rd season we appointed Ron Saunders as manager. Later that season we'd go on to win the slightly less relevant cup competition and come second. Manchester United won the league that year. For some reason they also shat the bed in the 70s. Charlie Atkin has now buggered off to New York to play with Pele. Good news, in 1973 people got less sexist and decided women are allowed to play football. So they all liked this idea and made a team. 16 years later we decided that we wanted a women's team but didn't want to make it ourselves. Solution? Pester Sulliel until they agreed to become Aston Villa Women's. Took them 7 years. Season on season we would improve under Saunders, winning a 3rd League Cup, and 3 seasons on from that victory we would win the league, thanks to our new record signing Peter Whiff, who we signed for £500,000 from Newcastle. Season after that Saunders quit because he wasn't getting paid well enough. We brought in as assistant manager Ron Bendel despite fan outrage and our entire season collapsed. Just kidding, we went on to become the best team in Europe and beat Bayern 1-0 in the European Cup final, thanks to a Peter Whiff winner. 5 years after winning the European Cup we would get relegated, bouncing back at the first chance. In 17th, 2nd, 17th and 7th, that would be our last ever season in the 1st Division. Why? It had a name change. Yep, it's the Premier League now and nothing that happened in any of the seasons prior meant anything. Well, according to Football Kings 23 at least. How did we get on? We were the first ever runners-up. Again. At least this time the team above us lost. Our centre-back would end up winning Players Player of the Year that season. He would play every single game pissed off his face. In fact, he was even better when pissed off his face. The following 2 seasons wouldn't be the greatest, dropping to 10th and 18th in the 20-team league. Following season we remembered how to play football, came fourth and won the League Cup. Wonder when we'll win our next trophy. The rest of the 90s was spent loitering around 5th and 8th, trying but failing to get Champions League football. The turn of the millennium saw us very conflicted whether we wanted to be good or not, finishing as high as 5th but as low as 16th. Then Martin O'Neill came in as first team manager, spent 120 million in 4 years and we got quite good, finishing 11th and 6th 3 times in a row. We even got to a League Cup final, lost though because Wayne Rooney jumped really high. We spent big in hopes of getting Champions League football. If the seasons ended at Christmas we would have, but they don't, so we didn't. Then he fell out with the owners and pissed off. How'd we do after that? Hired 5 different managers in 6 years, all were pretty naff. Except you did alright, and went down in 15-16. The only positives of this time would be this greasy youth academy player called Jack Grealish would start playing first team football. And we reached the FA Cup final. Best we ignore that result. Good news, we have rich owners now who want to finish in the Champions League spots by 2026. First season in Championship we spent lots of money on lots of rubbish and played rubbish. We also appointed a rubbish manager and sacked him after 4 months. The new manager did a bit less rubbish and we gave him more time. Second season we realised spending all that money last season got us nowhere, so we signed a lot of old people and Chelsea's captain. Where did that get us? We lost the playoff final. Bad news, our rich owners weren't actually rich at all and are now on the run from the Chinese government. Put us £4 million in debt and almost bankrupted the club. He still owns a bit of Villa though and claims he really likes us, so that's okay. 3 months into the season someone throws a cabbage at our manager and the owners sack him. Who do they appoint? Dean Smith. How does the rest of the season go? The greasy youth player comes back from injury, scores a really nice goal and gets made captain. Then we go on to win 10 in a row and win the playoffs. Cool. Oh, also, remember that club earlier that I said we didn't like that much? Well, one fan ran onto the pitch, assaulted Grealish, got cheered off the pitch and then Grealish went on to score the winner. First season back in the Prem, we buy practically an entirely new squad and break our transfer record on a Brazilian striker who goes on to hurt his knee really badly. Play pretty naff, then COVID happens. Just before COVID we got to the League Cup final. We lost it but made a really nice tackle so it's okay. During COVID we get our act together, make the greatest save of all time and stay up on the final day of the season. The team that gets relegated instead of us gets really upset because they claim the greatest save of all time actually went over the line. Second season back in the Prem we continue to spend lots of money, but this time we have the highest points tally bottom half finish of all time. In September the greasy head captain signs a new long-term contract and claims Aston Villa are his club. I'm sure this will mean that he stays for a very long time. No all-time great saves were made this season, but we did beat Liverpool by a lot. Bad news, the captain actually had a release clause in his contract and left to join Manchester City. That's okay because we got lots of money from it. We spent this money desperately trying to sign someone as good as him to replace him, but none of them could fill his boots. Dean Smith got sacked and replaced with Steven Gerrard. How did he do? To put nicely, we didn't get relegated under him. 22-23 came round and Gerrard got binned off. Where's his next job?
Marhaba, Ana Steven Gerrard. Ana El Etifaki. See you soon.
To replace him, we brought in a Spanish man who got bullied out of the Premier League a few seasons back because he's got a funny accent.
Good evening.
How's he doing? Unreal. Everyone's remembered how to play football again and have gone from 17th to 7th. This means Villa are back in Europe, playing Europa Conference League football. It's the current day now, so everything I say on may be pointless. Solution? End the video.